All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for coming down here. We're going to call the Ways and Means Committee to order. Sharita, if you would, please.
Chairman Vollmer.
Present.
Alderwoman Davis.
Present.
Alderman Moore. Alderman Vaccaro.
Present.
Alderwoman Howard.
Present.
Alderwoman Murphy.
Here.
Alderwoman Boyd. Alderman Muhammad. 5 present. You have quorum.
All right, thank you very much. What before us today is Board Bill 176. I am the sponsoring alderman. This is a special business district for the Hill. Typically, I would turn around and face the committee as the sponsoring alderman, but since you're all sitting out there, why should I have my back to you? Won't be like a priest in 1961. So what we're going to do, and for you folks on the committee who are not familiar, and some of you do have special business districts in your wards, this and what's before us today is merely to put this on the ballot for April 2nd. What we're passing here today is not a tax. We're not passing anything but a ballot measure. This merely puts it on the April 2nd ballot for you folks to vote for or against it who live or own property in the designated area that is introduced into this bill. The procedure for this is a petition was drawn up and brought to us. These people this is a state mandated or set up project for the special business district. So what occurs then, once it's done, is my job as your elected official to put this into play. They've gone through and gotten the signatures. They've had many public meetings in the neighborhood. Actually, they went alphabetically with certain different, once a week, to go through and explain this to people. I'll let the committee, the Hill Special Business District, do the actual breaking it down for the committee up here. But that is what's before us today. Everyone is aware that this is not, we are not passing a tax today, all you folks out in the audience. This is not a tax we're passing. We're merely passing a ballot measure to let the neighborhood decide if they would like this special business district to occur. At that point, I will ask Anne-Marie Lametta and Mr. Healing to step forward and present their case.
Morning.
Good morning. Please pull the microphone down. State your name for the record. Everyone, you are being televised. You are being recorded, so smile.
Yeah, you could behave. I'm Anne-Marie Lametta. I'm president currently of the Hill Business Association, and I guess I'm chairman of the committee. We've never really declared a chairman, but I've kind of been the organizer for the special business district, doing all the research. And Father Bomarito has a funeral this morning, so he's not able to attend. But some of my other committee members are here, John Ostermeyer and Terry Tomlinson. And is anybody else here? I think that's it. So anyway, do you want a little bit of history, or do you want to do your thing?
Well, I believe what the thing before us, I think, basically is the details of what's occurring financially and boundary-wise. I think that's the most important structure here. I believe everyone's aware, having been serving with these folks, most of these folks all live in the neighborhood. We're well aware of the history of the neighborhood and what it means to the city, what it means actually to the United States, how important this little area is.
Yes.
So I think that is general knowledge. I think we should just get to the minutia.
Okay, very good. I had a couple of phone calls over the holidays that some of the boundaries were incorrect. So I went through it again yesterday, and Bill has edited it. I brought maps if any of you want one to highlight.
Sure. You can pass those out to the committee members. That'd be great. I need somebody to throw another log in the air conditioner, right?
So the translation of the boundaries, part of, I believe, Columbia fell off the map, literally. And there was a section with the new development that Draper Kramer is building. There was a couple wedges in there of people who were eliminated. So Bill went through and redefined the boundary.
So I'm guessing that will have to be done as amendments to the bill that was drawn up originally. So we will get to that after we go through all the public input of this part. But right now, just do your main presentation, that'd be fine.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
The main part of the proposal is to authorize a tax of up to 65 cents per $100 assessed valuation. There is a limit to how much money could be charged to any single parcel or a grouping of parcels that are operated as a single business, and that would be $750 maximum. So no one single business is going to be, heavily impacted by the special assessment that would be levied on this. Other than that, it follows the format. There'll be a 7-member board, all from the neighborhood, who will, run it. It'll adopt a budget every year. Most of the money is designated to go to anti-crime activities in the neighborhood. There's a little bit of money set aside for some public infrastructure, if anything's needed.
Yeah, if needed.
If needed. And as was explained, there will be some amendments to revise the boundary. Now, as a result of that, there'll have to be another committee hearing in 15 days. Because it's a state statutory requirement that if you do revise the boundaries, it has to be held over for another hearing.
Okay.
So that's pretty much it.
Okay, so the 65 cents per $100 means that every $1,000 would be $6.50. Every $10,000, your assessment would be $65. So if your assessment is $20,000, you're looking at a $130 extra bill to your taxes over a 12-month period is how it's broken down, to the simplest form for you, to explain it out in a quick thing. Meaning it's $750 to someone like Volpe that has acreages of property will not be charged, for everything they own in the neighborhood.
Right, and allied healthcare, the big
Okay.
parcels.
All right.
And we originally began with 85 cents per 100 and then a $500 cap. And after our meetings that were held, we listened to what everyone had to say and we dropped it to 65. So while the money's not going to be, and the cap of 750. So while the money's not going to be a huge amount, I mean, we lost some by dropping the rate, but almost all the money will be going for security in one way, shape, or form, whether it's cameras, off-duty police, so.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Okay, are there any questions of these two while we have the committee here? I'll start with Alderwoman Davis.
I was looking at the map here, and your perimeters are really highlighting your high business area. So most of the people who are involved in your committee, are they business owners,
No,
homeowners?
it's residential.
Okay.
Yeah, so Monsignor Bomarito, myself, and then the rest are all homeowners.
Okay, that's good. All right.
Oh, yes,
Any more questions?
primarily homeowners, yeah.
I know.
Yes.
Thought about the homeowners. Thank you.
All right. Alderman Vaccaro, any questions of the? No questions. All right. Alderwoman Howard, any questions?
What is the projected annual income you expect from this?
It's going to be around 225.
225,000? 225,000? Okay,
I'm estimating.
and so you're going to hire off-duty police officers from the St. Louis Metropolitan Police?
Yes, St. Louis City, right.
Okay.
That's the proposal, but when the board is set up, I mean, they're going to have to decide.
Okay.
But that's our proposal.
And so $225,000, will that be on every day, or, what is the?
So we've had a little security program in place for 2017 and part of 18. And it was random when they worked. Rick Severino, who worked for Campbell Security, he was in charge of the schedule. I was the administrator. I never knew until I went to pay the bill the following month what the schedule was. So we are hoping with the money generated that we can have coverage every single day.
Okay, and
Of
so
some-
what is the test for the voters? What is the percentage of votes you need to pass this into law?
It's 51.
Simple
One-
majority.
Simple
51
majority.
simple
Okay.
majority.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you. Alderwoman Murphy, any questions?
No questions, asked and answered. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Alderwoman Boyd?
No questions.
All right, thank you very much. All right. I think I never made a motion to, we need to make a motion.
Oh, I move that we pass Board Bill.
No, not pass.
No.
Yeah, well, I get, well,
We have to do this
Yeah, 'cause
first
we're gonna have
before we do amendments.
The boundaries aren't.
yeah, before we do any amendments, we would have to go through this, but I think what we want to do is hear public input first. We have a list of pros and cons. There are more pros and cons looking at the physical paperwork. What I'll do is take a pro, take a con, take a pro, take a con, until we run out of cons, as they say in prison. All right. So we'll start with Annette Barra as far as the cons, and say Anne-Marie Lumetta was signed up first, and she's been up to speak. So Annette Barra, would you like to speak, please? Thank you, Annette.
I have lived on the Hill all my life. I have a lot vested in the Hill. My main problem with this proposal is it is simply not fair. It is not fair for somebody who owns a $400,000, $500,000, $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 house to be capped off. It is not fair for somebody that owns a lucrative business to be capped off. It is not fair for somebody like me who lives on Social Security and is retired to have to pay additional taxes. My 2018 property taxes were 3 of my Social Security checks. That does not give me a lot to live on. And I want to make this point. I am 100% for businesses on the Hill. I realize that they contribute a lot to the Hill. But what I want my point to be is, if it wasn't for me and families like mine who sacrificed to build St. Ambrose Church, who sacrificed to build St. Ambrose School, and who sacrificed to maintain homes and build homes on the Hill and raise the family, there would be no Hill as we know today. So please do not throw people like me under the bus. I cannot afford this new tax. Thank you.
Thank you, Annette. All right, next will be Megan Whitehead.
Good morning. I am also a longtime resident and homeowner of the Hill. I also work on the Hill, and I am completely for this. I understand the fixed income argument. I think everyone has a fixed income if you make a certain amount of money and you spend a certain amount of money. But I think at $2 or $3 a day to improve our security, our visitor center, and perhaps more things on the Hill, community gardens, dog parks, things that would be improved by this money are very important to our neighborhood. And I hope that you will consider approving this measure to be voted on. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Megan. And Chris Gambaro, please step up to the microphone.
I am a resident and a business owner of the Hill all my life. I have 3 things that I think are wrong here. One is we tried this already and it didn't work. The people didn't want it. They didn't put their money up. 2 is no one could answer the question of, on the places where this is already in place, does it really affect the crime? Does it? No one could answer that. 3, if you put your own police force in, the police department that we already pay taxes for, being short of people as it is now, are definitely, when you have these people in place, they're definitely not going to send their people over to patrol our area when they already think we have our own people patrolling our area. And if people don't think that isn't going to happen, trust me, it will. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Chris. All right, we have Joe DiGregorio. Now, Joe Urban's kept it under a minute.
Bill Vaccaro says I can talk as long as I want. All right, as a native of the Hill and a person with a vested interest in the historical and integrity aspects of the Hill, I am very much for this proposal. I believe the time is right for it. I think the timing is good. I know that I've read in the papers a few months back that violent crime in some neighborhoods near the Hill has increased. And I do believe if this does pass, that it can be sort of an anchor to the city of St. Louis and an inspiration to other neighborhoods to do things to minimize their crime issues as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Joseph. All right, Jamie Lane. Good morning.
Good morning. As I say, a lot of people have lived on the Hill longer than I have. I moved here after I retired from Springfield, Illinois, and I love the Hill. I had no idea what it meant, and living there for at least 10 years, I have grown to know that it is a very wonderful, wonderful community. But this bill that I see passing, I agree with Annette. I am retired. I am on a fixed income. You know, my taxes are, you know, about what she says on Social Security. To me, a lot of the crime that might be showing up is not the people that live on the Hill. I mean, Joe's very good about monitoring the people that move in, and if we have any problems on the Hill of getting them out of the Hill, you know, a lot of it could be, to me, I see, we have a lot of businesses on the Hill that people come from other places, and that is where the problem might be showing up is, to me, people coming into the Hill to take advantage of some of the services that are located there, and might be causing some of the problems. I mean, I have a friend that lives at the corner of my street on Botanical, and she said, you know, Favaz's is really, you know, we get problems from them in front of our house. Nothing very serious yet, but as I say, that's a lot of money for someone that's on Social Security to pass, and I do agree that we do need security there, and that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jamie. I apologize, I'm not making these folks give their addresses because I already know where they live, so just trust me, they all live. Typically, we would make you folks state your address and all those things, but I'm foregoing that today. All right, we have Gary Newcomer.
Hi, good morning. I will say my address because I think it does matter, but my address is 3728 Fairview, and I'm actually a board member for the Tower Grove South Special Business District, so it's very similar to the Hill Business District, or what's being proposed. And I also, for my day job, I work for the Community Builders Network, where I facilitate the Commercial District Coalition for St. Louis City and County, which includes about 15 to 20 neighborhood commercial districts, most of which are special taxing districts like SIDS and special business districts. So why I'm here today is because, as you all know, there are two sides to this, this debate, and that is that there's establishing a special business district, but there's also operating a special business district when it's in place. And what our coalition has noticed is that there's a lack of resources for those who are managing special business districts across the city, across the county. We've even had a meeting with the state auditor's office in Jefferson City, and we've learned that this is a problem across the state and that any solutions will have to start locally. So what I'm here to say is just that there needs to be more resources to support those managing special business districts in terms of reporting, in terms of community engagement, in terms of strategic planning. So I'm here just to encourage the representatives for the Hill Special Business District that's being proposed to get connected with the representatives of the Commercial District Coalition, to learn from what's going on in other special business districts, and also to encourage them as well as you all to support us and support SLDC as we're working together to try and develop some tools and resources for those volunteers and part-time employees that are managing these special business districts. So that's pretty much all I have to say here, and I'll stick around afterwards if anyone has any questions. So thanks.
Certainly, actually, Alderwoman Davis has a question of you.
Need to get a clarity, because you said a lot real fast.
Oh, sure. I'm sorry. I speak
Okay.
quickly.
So, you're a resident in the Tower Grove South neighborhood?
Yes.
Okay. But you also serve on a special district commission? You're a commissioner?
Yes, so I serve as a board member for
You are a commissioner on one, okay.
Yes, yes, yes.
And then secondly, thirdly rather, you're employed by the city?
I'm employed by a nonprofit called
By
the
a
Community
nonprofit,
Builders Network.
okay.
Yeah.
Because it sounded like you said you were employed by the city.
I'm
So you're
sorry.
employed by a nonprofit?
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
Okay. So I just need a little clarity.
Sure,
so I can see where you're
absolutely.
coming from. Okay.
I wear a lot of hats.
You do, yes, yes. So when you talk about having additional resources, one of the things that is very unique about special districts is that they are governed by that community.
Mm-hmm.
And so when other entities step in to try to run it or tell people what to do, most times they don't know what to say because they don't live in that neighborhood.
Sure, absolutely.
And also, when the residents, if they stay present, they'll be pleased with the operation. And the other blessed part of this is that the actual funds are collected by the comptroller's office, and they have to send a budget to be approved.
That's correct.
And so there's a lot there behind the scenes.
Oh, no, absolutely.
And but what we want to do is to make sure that when people make a decision like this for themselves, it's called self-help, and we've been doing it for years. I think that allowing them to make most of the decisions themselves is extremely important.
Oh, absolutely. And when I say resources, I'm not referring to financial resources. I'm referring to checklists or workshops or just schedules and how to report or...
They do get all that information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a commissioner, I would disagree a little bit to that statement. But there is information that we receive. I just feel from all the conversations we've had, both in the Tower Grove South Special Business District and then across St. Louis City and County, that a need has been expressed by many people in terms of having additional resources, in terms of how to do the reporting, making sure we're not missing any critical dates, making sure that there are templates when we're putting together agendas or public meetings, things like that.
That's interesting.
And
Okay.
we're working together to create those too. So the burden is not on the city to do all of that, but to support those efforts as we're working together to create those tools and resources.
All right. I'm done. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alderman. Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
All right, next up is Diane Erzsi. Diane, there she is.
Hi.
Hello, Diane.
I've lived in St. Louis since the early 80s. I own multiple properties within this jurisdiction. I did not receive a card to the first 3 meetings. I got about 9 cards to this one, so I figured somebody wanted me here. I recently paid over $28,000 in real estate taxes, and I'm not in favor of this proposal. I don't think enough thought has gone into how the money is going to be spent, and I just don't want my taxes to go up, and I understand that I own a business, but that doesn't make a person wealthy. And it's not always easy to come up with all the money that people are asking for, and I understand people on Social Security, which I'm also on that too. I just think that we've spent enough money that the services we need should be provided. I personally have never had anything stolen other than pallets back from behind my store. I've never had any windows broken into. And every time I've called the police, they've come. Sometimes it's taken them 20 minutes, but I'm really not dissatisfied with the service we have. And I think if people just lit up their houses more, I think we would cut down a lot on the little petty crime that we do have. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, Robert Serrati. Robert? Oh, Bob, learn how to write. Scarrato. I know my eyes are bad, but you gave me your autograph.
Well, good morning.
Good morning, Robert.
My name is Robert Scarrato, and I live on the Hill, and my family has a business on the Hill called Anthonino's, and I think it's, I think people want to live on the Hill for 3 reasons. I think security is the first one, and then the shopping and the restaurants. And I just feel that anything that aids.
I thought the tugboat was coming in.
And I think that anything that aids us in those 3 categories really helps, and I'm very much in favor of it.
All right. Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is Mark Beffa.
Where you been, Mark?
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name's Mark Beffa. I'm speaking to you as a past vice president of the Neighborhood Association. Back in 2012, when I started on the board, there was a small group of people that were proposing a neighborhood-wide SID district, very similar to what's being proposed now. There was no study, no polling, no consensus of the neighborhood, whether that was wanted at that time. So the Neighborhood Association sent out a comprehensive survey on a number of topics. One of them being the question of, would you support a SID? And the response rate came back 3-to-1 in opposition of this. In 2017, another small group proposed a volunteer program, a volunteer security initiative. That program started in January of 2018, and by mid-2018, they ran out of money because there was no support for it. I think, I appreciate your time sitting here listening. I think this is a waste of time. I think that at least everybody that I've talked to is not in favor of this. So going forward with this is pointless. And I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. All right, Joe Armando.
I didn't know I signed up to speak, but
Okay, well.
anyway, my name's Joe Armando. I live on 2122 Sublette. I've been on the Hill for about 5 years and around the Hill for longer than that. But, you know, I guess why I am in favor of this is because I see what's going on around the Hill, not so much on the Hill. And it's pretty alarming. Certainly not the kind of activity we want to see moving in our direction. I don't know that the city of St. Louis and its resources and the percentage of that we get is equitable. I can't really say yes or no, but all I know is I enjoy feeling comfortable in my surroundings, and I think that this would enhance the overall security of the area. I do understand fixed income arguments and people who are on that, and I wish that a proposal like this could accommodate that group of people a little bit better to make it a little easier for everyone to afford. But that being not the case, according to the way that the legislative part of this is designed, I guess I have to go forward and say that I do want this to pass. I hope that it doesn't cause any strife in the neighborhood between people, and I've definitely heard a lot of pros and a lot of cons. And that's all I've got to say.
Okay. Thank you very much, Joe. All right. Oh, there's a Gary Harmon. You signed up on the pro side, but you put no next to your name. Gary, still?
Yeah, I'm Gary Harmon. I own a building on Patterson Avenue, and I've owned it since, I think, 1993. I had my business in there for over 20 years. I retired about 5 years ago. I'm a founding member of the Hill Business Association, and I'm against this proposal. And first off, I'd like to see the figures that show that the crime rate on the Hill has actually been increasing at a rate bad enough that the residents and the businesses have to hire their own private police force, and for some reason, the Board of Aldermen can't come up with the money to get us more policemen that we're paying our property tax for to guard our neighborhood. So the second thing is the rate, the way you're rating this thing out. You're maxing it out at $750. My building is 2,300 square feet, so if you figure out what I'm going to pay compared to what somebody's got a 20,000 square foot building, totally inequitable. Kind of in the same position that the ladies that are on Social Security. So if you go by a square foot rule, it would be much more fair if you're going to do this. Say 3 cents a square foot, 4 cents a square foot on your building. You can get those figures from the property tax rolls. So you got a big business. I mean, I like all these guys. I know most of these guys that have these businesses from being in the association. You got more to lose, so you should have to pay more. I got a little building, I got less to lose. So I'm against this, any more tax increases. You need to find a better way to fund other things in the city to get us more policemen that we need.
Okay, I appreciate it. Just a comment. Just a comment, Gary. We actually have the money to pay more police officers. The problem is finding people who want to be policemen in this day and age. We have enough money to fund 114 more police officers. We have the money. It's trying to find people who want to be policemen these days. Just like the, that's, well, we just
went up.
I just wanted to make a comment if you made your comment. It just because my ears are burning from members of the board. We have all the money in place. We just don't have people who want to be police officers. And you folks have children who want to be police officers. God bless you. It's one of the hardest jobs in the world these days, and we try to do everything we can to get them the money to do their job.
Why don't you use some of that money to hire the policemen we're going to hire from this thing?
Okay. The money is in place to hire policemen.
They did change it.
We have changed the boundary rules. Everything's been changed as far as that.
You don't have to live in the city.
We still have public discussion. We merely had to answer a statement that was made that my fellow aldermen were, I could feel the burn in my ears.
Yes.
While we're here, because we have, and there's a back sheet here. Kathy Donnelly, you're next, Kath.
I'm Kathleen Donnelly. I own Joya's Deli, the property of Joya's Deli on the Hill. Basically, I don't have too much to say because it's so vague. And until we get more information, that's why I did con. That's really all I have to say right now.
All right, Kath. All right. All right, there's a second sheet, and I can't read, it looks like Paul Amado. Paul, somebody signed their name with their Donald Trump signature. I can't read. It's just a bunch of scribbling here. If you sign the second sheet with a black marker first name, you recognize it's just I can't make it out. The only other people signed up.
Look at it.
We have lots of school teachers up here.
Yeah. You're talking about right
Yeah.
here? That's A-N-D.
Well, I'll tell you what, we'll do the name afterwards.
Who signed it?
Anyhow, we'll go with Vito Favazza Jr. He's next after that, and then we have only one more name after that, so if you signed up and have been called, then we'll know who you are.
Hi, I'm against it because I'm against the extra taxes in the city. I'm all for the security part of it, but I'm not sure how it's going to be run, and there's a lot of questions that haven't been answered regarding the whole proposal. That's basically my point.
All right, Tom.
I'm all about security, but.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, Frank DiGregorio, you're next on the list.
Good morning, everybody.
One more person that you're from. Okay. All right. Go ahead, Frank.
We own DiGregorio's Market down on the hill. We also have several parcels on the hill. I am for this because I'm looking for more security. I know we don't have a whole lot of problems on the hill, but we want to prevent problems from coming to the hill also. So that's why I'm for this. And I know it's going to be a burden because we have several parcels on the hill, but I feel it's worth our while to do.
All right. Thank you very much. I guess maybe the easiest thing to do is please pass it out there and pass along and see if anyone recognizes your signature.
That's definitely fine.
Then we are bound to let everyone speak if they signed up, so we just can't discern the name.
If you signed up.
Just pass around. Does anyone recognize their autograph?
It's Bill's. Bill and
Oh, Bill? Okay. It's my neighbor. He's got you should be a doctor, Bill. Did you want to speak? Okay, all right then. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, where we're at, we've had all the public input. And does anyone here have any questions on the board as we go through of the sponsors before we proceed? Because we would have to first approve this, is my understanding, and then if we do approve it, then we just have to add the amendments to it. And the amendment process to change the boundaries is going to be, there's, I believe, 5 of them, but the way it's broken down, it actually turns out to be more than that because we have to change them, if we do change them, in the body of the bill and then in the clause, the whereas clause. So I guess if William and Annette would like to stand up, we'll see if there's any final questions of these. Go ahead. Chris, you had your hand up?
Come up
Yep,
here.
you have to
Chris, come up.
please step forward. All right, Chris, just state your name for the record.
My name is Chris Saraceno. I live at 2301 Edwards. The question at hand is if the proposal goes forward amongst the aldermen here today, and then the change of amendment comes about, do we, how does the neighborhood, do the folks that are here and that are not here today because of work and other obligations?
What would occur is if the board passes out the bill as it sits, we would then have to amend it. If those amendments are all approved and put onto the bill, then within 15 days, we have to have another hearing to go through that, and that's set by state statute. So what occurs here, and the reason for these things is the timing is to try and put this on the April 2nd ballot. Once again, we are not passing any taxes here today. What this is going to do is put it before the residents and the property owners of the neighborhood to vote to see if they want this or do not want this. That was kind of the purpose of all the meetings they had before we got to this point in the neighborhood, hoping to get a feel for this.
And so, and not to add to it, but some of the questions is because from hearing some of what pros and cons have been, it doesn't seem that a lot of the neighborhood is very clear on and how and what the money from the tax and things would go to and how it would all work. There is some unclarity, but I do believe that it is important that the neighborhood as a whole gets the opportunity to have the right to vote on this particular amendment. So I'd like to state that clearly.
Yes,
Is that,
and again, that's the purpose of this.
So
This
I
is-
know it's
again,
the
we're not,
purpose, but
having been through this in the last 16 years and seeing, there are special business districts that work very well. Yes, it can be a burden on some folks, and that's the reason to put it before the people who own the property. That's why it's done on a ballot, it's why it's done by an election. This is not our decision to say all of a sudden you have to pay extra taxes because you live here. Again, the legal process is the petition is brought to me, and we have to run it through this to see what the neighborhood wants to do. Again, this is only a ballot measure. For you folks who are against it, it would be, if it does come out, to rally your troops and do it that way. And for you folks, it basically comes down to that. It is a simple majority that will pass this on April 2nd. if it would go through this and we do make the timely 15-day term after, with the changes that are made. I'm just doing this because the changes will be a lot of minutia and a lot of, if we do get to that point, and it's just merely adding blocks and taking that weren't correct. So if you folks still want to stick around for that, you can if we get to that point. So just to let you know what occurs. So we're going to let them go through and let the...
Thank you.
Okay, Chris. Kathy, you have to step up here if you have a question, yes. Sure.
Okay. I'm delinquent of going to all the meetings. How do we find out how the tax works? Is it individual? Is it LLCs? Is it enterprises?
As far as, I believe if a person, William here can answer that.
It will be simply the tax bill that you get now, whoever gets the tax bill, whether it's an LLC or an individual, if they own an individual home, the tax will be reflected on that tax.
So it's individual property. It's not like if I had 4 pieces of property in an LLC, it's not considered to be all on that. That way I'd only get taxed a max. So there's a lot of...
Are the 4 all together and...
Attached? No.
Attached. Then you'd have 4 separate tax bills.
Okay, because that's where some of the gray area is.
Yeah, you'd have 4 separate tax bills with 4 separate properties.
Whether it's an LLC or individual.
Yep, that wouldn't matter.
Okay. All right, are there any questions from the floor, from anything you've heard out here, folks, if there's, before we proceed? Yes, sir. You got to step up to the microphone if you have a question, please.
I might be unique. I live in Illinois. Do I get to vote on this?
As a property owner in the area, you will be sent a ballot. Were you sent a card for this today, sir?
Yeah, and that's another thing. I got the card on, I just happened to come into my building on Saturday because I no longer have a business in the building, and the card was there. And I've heard there's been several other meetings before this. So
yeah,
you're not,
that's up to the
committee.
committee.
They're not getting everybody. I just want, I'm not blaming on anybody. I'm just saying it's not happening.
And how the voting goes, though, yeah, it is, if you live in Illinois, but your piece of property is within the boundaries, you have the right to vote.
Very good, thank you.
You're welcome, sir. All right, William, if you'd like to...
Yes, I think the easiest way...
You step up the microphone, please.
Easiest way to look at these amendments is to look at the little memo that just says, what are the amendments to Board Bill 176? There's really 5 changes being made. 4 of them relate to the boundaries. And those are amendments. And then the second sheet you have is, you'll see a set of numbers, number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
I don't think
8.
those are before us yet.
I think it was distributed. I thought, yeah, I think you were distributed to, maybe not, okay.
What are the amendments?
There are 11 separate amendments. 10 of them relate to the boundaries. Now, what has to happen is, because of the boundary change, the change has to be made both in the whereas clause and in the body of the bill. So, in effect, it looks like there's 10, but really there's only 5 changes being made in the boundaries. The first amendment, which is amendments 1 and 2 and 7 and 8, add a property called Alpha Pet. It's along Kings Highway. The second one, which is amendment 3 and 9, add the U-Haul property along Kings Highway. The third amendment, which is amendment 4 and 10, add the north side of Columbia from January to Hampton. Then the fifth, amendments 5 and 11, add both sides of Elizabeth from 59th Street to Hampton. So that takes care of 10 of the 11 amendments. Amendment number 6 makes a minor change in the whereas clause relating to the resolution that will accompany this board bill and to establish the SBD, and this reflects the fact that the public hearing is being held today.
All right.
So that's what all the amendments are.
All right, and I've actually been informed that there's a wonderful clause and somewhere in our rules that with 11 amendments, we can pass them all as, we can hear them all as one. But, all right, but we had a hand while you were talking, John DeGregorio, if you'd like to step to the microphone. Bill, to stay there, and we'll let John grab the mic.
Morning, John DeGregorio, business and residential owner. I guess this is going to affect both commercial and residential property, correct?
That's correct.
Do we know exactly how many parcels of residential and how many parcels of commercial are within these boundaries?
I don't have that number.
You get a printout, you should have.
And Marie may have that.
You get
Please step up to the microphone. Everything has to be done at the microphone, please.
Okay, so ask your question again.
Oh,
How many, do we know how many parcels are residential and how many parcels are commercial within these boundaries?
I don't know the number, but I did do some research originally when we had the $500 cap, that there were 100 properties that were going to be affected by that. And 30...
Just the cap.
Right, oh, sorry. Just there were 100 properties that were affected by the $500 cap. And 30 of them were businesses. And the other 70 were
The answer is it was looked at.
yeah.
Okay, so we don't have the number. Is there, you have the,
I also today, I brought my spreadsheets from our meetings. If anybody wants to know what their assessment is going to be, I can tell you today. Anyway, it was 100, and it was a
That's strictly for the
combination of,
you're talking about what you're, when you're stating 100, you're stating that there's 100 businesses affected by the 100 businesses that will be at the cap?
Right, I understand
Okay.
that part.
yeah, I don't know exactly the number
Well,
of businesses.
we should-
I can get that for you, though. I've got all the properties listed, spreadsheet.
I ask that because I know it's in, you know, if it were divided evenly amongst everybody and not based on a real estate thing, wouldn't it be easier for a contribution?
I don't know that legally, William, I think this is all set up by the state, so this is not something we came up, that was, the state came up with this process, so that the rates and how it's done and how it's processed is all it's nothing that we can just make up ourselves. We have to follow the state mandate for this. So that's where this comes in, and we can set the amount, which is what you folks have been doing at the meetings, why it went from 85 cents to 65 cents and all that. But how it's collected and how it's done, and through the comptroller's office with the 7-panel member, that all is part of the state mandate.
Let me say something on that.
Thank you.
All right, John. We have one more question back in the back.
My name is Nancy LaRusso. I live at 5528 Botanical. So my question is, of the potential 225,000 additional taxes that this will raise, is there a kind of a breakdown percentage-wise? I know primarily security. What are the other categories?
Okay, with the reduction in the rate from 85 cents to 65, it's primarily going to be for security.
Okay.
Because, that was the main goal, but we wanted to try and make it palatable for everybody with the rate. So
Okay.
we changed that.
And I have one more question. Okay, then in reducing it from 85 to 65, the maximum you said is 750?
Instead of 500.
And that's whether it's residential or commercial, it doesn't matter?
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, we tried to be very equitable and fair so that everyone has to pay something.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
Thank you.
All right. There's one more question in back.
I didn't see I wasn't privy to the amendment of the boundaries, but I am curious because it seemed that the original boundary did not match the geographical neighborhood boundary lines, and it excluded a number of properties on the west side of the hill, including some businesses like the Red Roof Inn and other businesses like that. So I'm curious to see if the boundary line of the district got extended fully to Hampton to include those.
It's a Hampton.
So the question is, does the new boundary lines go all the way to Hampton Avenue from Columbia to Wilson, is the question.
So amendment number 4.
So to be clear, it goes on both sides, it goes on the north side of Columbia to Hampton.
Mm-hmm.
And then it goes on both sides of Elizabeth, but it does not run down Hampton.
No.
So it
But
doesn't.
it does
right.
include both sides of Wilson
Yes.
to Hampton.
So it leaves out a significant number of commercial businesses between Columbia and Wilson on Hampton.
Between Columbia.
Yeah, well,
That is probably the case.
Yes.
Thank you.
And do you want to know why?
Oh, well, if you please speak to the microphone. You folks had the committee and set the boundaries up. Was there a reason for leaving all of Hampton out?
Yes, we didn't think logistically we could cover that with security.
Okay, being in a main drag?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Yes, Annette?
So since I live on Columbia, a block from where these businesses are not going to be covered, another point I want to bring up is that I am not going to get any security in my neighborhood if this bill, in my block, if this bill passes. And why, again, are these businesses not part of this? That's a significant financial gap there. I don't understand that. There are at least 12 businesses that should be in this. There are signs on Hampton that say the hill, the hill, the hill. So why are we not including these businesses?
Okay. My guess is that when they decided, I believe the security teams are on golf carts, and Hampton Avenue is not a very good golf cart street. So, but that was up to the committee to decide. They're going with most of the main part of the neighborhood. The only other part that's left out was the Draper Kramer project, which is a new area, which actually has their own SID in place. For someone asked me that question before. It's not included in this because they have no houses or addresses or assessments at this time. But they actually have passed, during the development of their project, the new apartment building, condos, and 60-some-odd new homes will be having their own SID for security within their 11-acre site there, for folks who were wondering about that. But that was all passed beforehand because currently they can't actually do it the way we're doing for this because there's no one there. So it's all part of the development package that is occurring. Any other questions from the floor? Then I'll allow to make a motion to, are we short a Alderman? Can you see if Alderman Vaccaro is done talking to Channel 4? Oh, I'm sorry, 2, 4, no, we have 5.
Okay.
No, we have 5, okay,
I move, you want me to do this?
if you like.
I move that we pass Board Bill 176 out of committee with a do pass recommendation.
Second.
Okay. Well,
Mr. Chairman,
we
if I-
have to.
No, we
No,
got
no.
to do the amendments.
Yeah, first you have to do the amendments.
That's correct.
And I think
Yeah.
a single motion would probably be
Yeah,
in
that was
order.
all I was looking for.
Move
Yes.
amendments
Okay.
1 to 11. And then I think you need to hold the bill until,
Yes, until the next meeting, yes.
I make a
Yes.
motion
And we have to
that
hold
we-
this. So nothing we passed out today, but I'm sorry, the motion was to consider the amendments.
I make a motion that we consider amendments 1 through 11.
Yeah, and according to council, the 11 amendments can be heard as once. Okay.
To Board Bill
So if you'd like to
176.
proceed with those, do we have a second?
Second.
We need to vote. All right, so,
Are you talking about the amendments? We
Yes.
have to vote on it to go, because we're attaching it to your bill.
we have to hear them first, don't
Do we need to read them?
Yeah,
we? Okay.
so you have to take a vote.
To consider. Okay. All right, please call.
Chairman Vollmer,
Aye.
Alderwoman Davis,
Aye.
Alderman Moore, Alderman Vaccaro, Alderwoman Howard,
Aye.
Alderwoman Murphy, Alderwoman Boyd, Alderman Muhammad. That's 6 aye votes.
And then we'll proceed to hear the amendments. And
He just needs to restate them for the public.
certainly, William, if you'd like to come up and restate the amendments and the... We have to go through them each individually, but we don't have to vote on each of them individually.
Well, Amendment 1, do you like me to read the entire portion, or?
For the public most especially, because we've already had 2 questions on clarity of the amendments.
Right.
And so let's just go ahead and clear it up in this meeting.
Okay. Amendment 1 is beginning on page 1, line 15, after the words "with the," strike the words "center line of Daggett Avenue" and insert the following words and figures. Southern boundary of parcel number 409-20020, 4914 Daggett Avenue. And Amendment 2 is beginning on page 1, line 15, after the words "then westward along the," insert the following words and figures. Southern boundary of parcel number 409-20020 to the western boundary of parcel number 409-20020, then northward along the western boundary of parcel number 409-20020 to the intersection with the center line of Daggett Avenue, then westward along the. Amendment 3, beginning on page 1, line 21, after the words "of Bischoff Avenue 2, insert the following words and figures. The right-of-way of the Union Pacific Railroad, then northeastwardly along the right-of-way of the Union Pacific Railroad 2. Amendment 4, beginning on page 2, line 2, after the words "to its intersection with," insert the following words and figures. Hampton Avenue, then back eastward along Columbia Avenue to its intersection with. Amendment 5, beginning on page 2, line 4, after the words "along 59th Street 2, insert the following words and figures. Elizabeth Avenue, then westward along Elizabeth Avenue to its intersection with Hampton Avenue, then back westward along Elizabeth Avenue to 59th Street, then northward along 59th Street 2. Amendment 6, beginning on page 2, line 19, after the word "considering," insert the word "a," and further amend page 2, line 19, by deleting the word "number blank," and on page 2, line 20, after the words "area and," insert the words "if a public hearing has not been held." Amendment 7, beginning on page 4, line 7, after the words "with the," strike out the words "center line of Daggett Avenue" and insert the following words and figures. Southern boundary of parcel number 409-20020, 4914 Daggett Avenue. And Amendment 8, beginning on page 1, line 7, after the words "then westwardly along the," insert the following words and figures. Southern boundary of parcel number 409-20020 to the western boundary of parcel number 409-20020, then northward along the western boundary of parcel number 409-20020 to its intersection with the center line of Daggett Avenue, then westward along the. Amendment 9, beginning on page 4, line 13, after the words "of Bischoff Avenue 2, insert the following words and figures. The right-of-way of the Union Pacific Railroad, then northeastwardly along the right-of-way of the Union Pacific Railroad 2. Amendment 10, beginning on page 4, line 17, after the words "to its intersection with," insert the following words and figures. Hampton Avenue, then back eastward along Columbia Avenue to its intersection with. Amendment 11, beginning on page 4, line 19, after the words "along 59th Street 2, insert the following words and figures. Elizabeth Avenue, then eastward along Elizabeth Avenue to its intersection with Hampton Avenue, then back eastward along Elizabeth Avenue to 59th Street, then northward along 59th Street 2.
Okay. We have all 11.
Yeah, so now it has been, it's been heard to the public.
Okay.
Public has clarity now.
All right, is there any questions about the boundary changes or the amendments, Alderman Davis? Alderwoman
I,
Davis?
I just wanted to make sure that the public understood what the actual amendment changes were, even though we had a cheat sheet and we voted. The clarity is there for you to go back and look at anytime you need to. Some of the other things that you mentioned that were vague to you before, again, those things have been explained in this committee hearing, and hopefully you will still go back and get more clarity among yourselves. And one of the things, I have a very large special business district in my ward, and it's been there for about 35 years now. And one of the great things about special districts, aldermen have no control over them. That's the great thing. You have control over it. And so if your community decides that it wants to do this, you stay present and you stay involved, because that belongs to you. I very rarely go to my meetings because that's the business of the neighborhood. And if they need some special kind of help, I make sure they get it. They've done some very significant things with their funding. It was primarily for crime in the beginning, but they managed to do some beautification projects. They built a parking lot. They provided incentive programs for new business owners. They did a lot of things over the years. So understand that this belongs to you if you decide to do it, and we don't control it. And that is one of the best things about a special district.
All right, thank you, Alderman Davis. Go ahead.
Just to build on what Alderwoman Davis said, I have some copies of Board Bill 176 with the proposed changes that are bolded and underlined, and anything being taken out marked through, so I can leave them up here, and if anybody in the crowd would want to look at it, they can see that. I also have a few extra copies of the memo and the actual amendment sheet. So just leave those up there for people.
All right, that'd be fine.
Let the public take them.
Okay, if we need any more copies, we'll try and get some made.
Get it, to let the public have it.
All right, Alderman Moore's not here. Alderman Vaccaro, any questions,
Yeah,
comments?
I do, actually. Because some of the people said that they just got a card today. Now, I have property in this, and I never got a card. How do these cards come out?
The assessor's office provides a mailing list of all of the property owners. They do that, so it was done by their computer list of any property owners, whatever that address was. That was then taken to pre-sort. Ad cell. That was taken to ad cell, which prepared the actual notices and mailed them. So it sounds like most people seem to have gotten those. I will also add that there's a publication requirement under the notice provision in state statute, and that publication was done. It has to be done twice, and that was done also. So I can't say as to...
Yeah, I haven't gotten one, and that was my question. Just because other people said that they had just gotten one yesterday or today, and maybe my mail hasn't gotten delivered yet, but, I mean, that was a concern.
They were actually mailed out on December 27th.
I'm just saying I haven't gotten one, and I have property in there. 5214 Elizabeth. Oh, no, I'm sorry, I sold 5214, 5229 Elizabeth, and it's right in there. I looked, and, of course, I'll talk, we have a tenant there, and I'll talk to the tenant on put it on a ballot and let them vote, but, I mean, with the trash charges going up and the sewer charges going up, and it sounds to me like this is going to provide one police officer?
No, it's not. I think there will be varying numbers of police officers, depending on hours and things like that.
It should be a significant, because it's about the same budget that most of the districts receive. And they can either hire off-duty police officers or a security firm. Mine has both.
I plan to
yeah.
let the people vote on it. I'm just saying that.
Yeah, people vote
I
for it.
haven't received a card yet that I know of.
We'll try and check that address. We have, if this will be coming out today, be getting another mailing for the next hearing. All right, Joe, any more questions, Alderman Vaccaro? All right, comments? All right. It would be Alderman Murphy.
Just a comment. I don't live on the Hill. I'm a lifelong city resident. I said apparently the Italians cook better than the Irish because I go to the Hill all the time.
Oh, I do.
And one of the reasons you go all the time is because of the good food, but the wonderful, safe atmosphere you feel when you're up there, all the time. My only problem would be sometimes you can't find a place to park, which is a good problem to have if you're in a business. And because of people like me and people from all over the county and everywhere that come to the Hill on a regular basis, your property values are very high and very stable, and that's a good thing. And then, and I believe this, I'm in favor of this because I want the people to be able to vote on it that live there. We, down in my neck of the woods, I live down by Holly Hills. My ward is 13 down there, and we currently have a voluntary police it's called Cops Walking the Beat. And it started out kind of enthusiastically, and now about 15% of the people support it on a voluntary basis, and that's not fair at all. So I just wanted to point that out, that the voluntary thing doesn't stay. This is equitable for everyone. The smaller homes, like in my neck of the woods, I looked into this. I would have had homes that paid like $50 a year, and I would have had homes that would have paid $400 a year, if this would have went through. And so to me, it is equitable to the extent that what your home is valued at, you pay that higher percentage. That's all. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Alderwoman Boyd?
No questions.
No questions or comments, thank you. All right, before we close, again, what we're doing here today.
You skipped me.
Oh, I'm so far.
Oh, sure.
Wait,
I did that.
I apologize, Alderwoman Howard, go ahead. The school teachers, I never liked them.
I see why. I really don't have anything. I just wish you all the best, and I think it's up to the community to sort this out when it's all said and done. And if this is something the Hill community, which I have friends there and spend some time there. I've actually been known to frequent this man's bar from time to time. But, it's a thing the community has to decide, and I believe that, we're doing our due diligence by putting it before the people, and then you all can sort it out and run your campaign and fight it out amongst yourselves. So thank you very much for all coming today. We appreciate your interest, and it's good to see a neighborhood that's so vibrant. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Alderwoman. I apologize. Yeah, in closing, for me, it is merely, believe me, I represent the folks who are farthest and against it. All you folks have voted for me, hopefully at one time or another in the last 16 years. And I hear both sides of it on a constant basis at my day job, or night job, as you would call it. And the best thing to do is to let this get on the ballot, I believe, and to let the people who think, if this is the best thing, then the majority will win out and show that. It is going to be, I'm guessing, a burden in some way for some folks. There's no denying that. There's no perfect way to do anything. But I guess in the democratic society we live in and how we operate, that this is one of the best ways to do this, is to put it on a ballot. So in closing on that, I don't know if Anne-Marie or William, you have any comments? All right. With that, we will, we need to
I'll make a motion that we, if you're ready to take a motion.
Well, yeah, we're merely adopting amendments today. We cannot pass this out by law. We have to come back in 15 days for another hearing to pass the bill out.
Right.
So there'll be another public hearing that you'll have to be doing another mailing, as far as I understand. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I do want to clarify. the state statute does not require another mailing.
Okay,
or
all right, okay, I just want to make sure.
Require a publication, which will be
Publication,
done.
all right, so there'll be no more postcards sent out. But please make sure someone knocks on Mr. Vaccaro's door and lets him know what's going on.
Anyway, if you're accepting motions, I'll make a motion, we accept the amendments to the Board Bill 178.
I thought we already had that.
Second?
I don't know if we did, I don't think we had it for the,
Please, Sharita, please.
Second.
Chairman Vollmer,
Aye.
Alderwoman Davis,
Aye.
Alderman Moore, Alderman Vaccaro, Alderwoman Howard,
Aye.
Alderwoman Murphy, Alderwoman Boyd, and Alderman Muhammad. 6 aye votes.
All right, by your vote, we've passed these amendments, and we will come back in 15 days. We'll set a hearing time and date and place, most likely be the same room for you folks if you'd like to attend. With that, we'll close the Ways and Means Committee today.